viewers, and welcome to Meet the Expert, the program that brings people with expert opinion to your television set. Today, our expert in studio is Mr. Adama Dempster. He's the Secretary General for the Civil Society Platform on Human Rights, and we'll be discussing everything human rights today. The human rights, the platform launched a shadow report. What is in that report? We don't know, and why did they do that report? We don't also know. So the expert here today will be telling us what is in that report, why the report is even necessary, and why we think as Liberians there are still human rights violations in Liberia. So Mr. Dempster is here, and he's the expert in the studio, so we're going to get everything from him. Mr. Dempster, welcome to Meet the Expert.
It's a pleasure being here, my first time on live TV.
Welcome.
So it's a pleasure again, and many thanks to the management for inviting me.
So you launched a shadow report.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about it.
Well, basically, let me tell you about the Civil Society Human Rights Platform. It's a network of human rights organizations within civil society that work on human rights specifically. So we have over 22 human rights organizations that work on human rights directly: the JPC, FINE, Foundation for International Dignity, the AFELD, Female Lawyers Association, Rural Human Rights Program, Independent Human Rights Investigator. The list is long. But the platform actually came together to be able to coordinate human rights work within Liberia. Because what we've seen over the time is that in advocacy, a lone voice takes time to really be heard. But when you have a collective or consolidated voices, of course it goes fast and it attracts attention. So it is from this background that we established a human rights platform, and our work is to monitor human rights in the Republic of Liberia. That is through the 15 counties. And that platform has chapters in the 15 counties. We have 7 counties already with local chapters. The local chapters is basically to empower civil society organizations in the counties, CBOs in the counties, so that they can take out their own human rights affairs. We don't want people to always wait for a team to leave from Monrovia before actions are taken in the counties. So that's why we had to establish the chapters in the counties. But then coming down to the shadow report, you will want to ask, what do you mean by a shadow report? You want to know what are those things that are captured in the shadow report. You want to also know that where do the shadow report go? Where do you submit your shadow report? So these are important information that will be good for this platform. So I thought to just let you know that a shadow report is a report. That's how it is called. Basically on international treaty obligations. If you are aware, the United Nations have 9 international treaties, and Liberia has signed 8 of the 9 treaties, and those treaties now become bearing on Liberia to report on human rights from the different treaties perspective. So each of the treaties, when you sign them, you are under obligation to make report on how you are implementing the activities within those treaties, the human rights activity, human rights accounts within those treaties. So in addition to government-owned commitment, government is also under obligation to improve the human rights situation of the country. And by their report made through the treaty report, it is where the UN, all our international partners, and the country itself will see the indicator to what extent government has improved human rights.
So do we still have human rights violation in this modern day Liberia? I mean, this
There are enormous. There are a lot of different human rights occurrences that we would like to talk about. But I just want to let you know that to be specific, the report launched today is a report we call the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And the civil and political rights have 26 issues. And those issues are key issues that relate to different human rights. That is, a look at past human rights abuses or violations, like the TRC report, how the government has implemented it. It also look at the issue of non-discrimination. It also look at gender equality. It talks about land rights. It also talks about harmful traditional practices. They talk about fair trial, due process. And they also look at the issue of the association, freedom of association, freedom of expression. These are things that the civil and political rights look at. People in elections. They talk about the press, media, friendly space, right of media practitioners. These are things that the reports capture. So we did not just do a report, but Liberia did a report in 2016. But that report had been delayed or overly due, because Liberia signed the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 2004. So from 2004 to 2005, Liberia should have reported her first implementation of the treaty that we talk about. But Liberia did not report until 2016. So it took 11 years.
Why?
It took 11 years. Liberia did not report until 2016. So if you see the space, it's very much something that we thought to actually step into it to encourage Liberia to start taking up her responsibility. So when Liberia made a report, the shallow report is a report that comes to checkmate government, to verify whether government is saying the right thing or is doing the right thing in her report or not. So we check on the report that government made. So all those things that I mentioned earlier are human rights issues that the government says she reported on. But then our shallow report went to work to monitor, investigate, and also summarize in analysis on all the different issues if really government had improved the human rights relating to those issues. But what we realized, there are some other things that are really lacking behind. There are some things they did. But we summarized that in a shallow report. And the shallow report,
was in that shallow report?
The shallow report basically will tell you that government have not taken certain measures to improve on the human rights relating to XYZ. Like government have not taken any, they have not taken measures to address past human rights abuse, past human rights violation. Because after the conflict, there have been recommendations from the TRC that the government should have implemented. And so since she have not implemented those, the issue that has to do with accountability, reparations, memorialization, we talk about them. These are things that the government have not fulfilled. So our report tells the UN Human Rights Committee that, hey, this is what it's like in Liberia.
So why now?
It is not a why now.
Why you didn't do that when Madam Salif was here?
But
now, it's kind of new.
It's not new. The thing is, you do not report when government don't report. Okay. Even though you can report on different accounts. But if you're writing a shallow report, it's treaty related. So until the government make her report, we can only make specific report on different human rights, smaller human rights issues. But this is a holistic report. So it's not an issue of what now. Because government took 11 years to not have report on the treaty she signed. Okay. She ratified.
So she signed and she reported 2016.
2016.
Why you didn't do your shallow report 2017?
No, the reason is reports are not abrupt. You take your time to do report and verify your report. What in the report should be verified, it should be based on facts, not assumption and not on secondary source. So we take our time, and it is not that we are after any specific government. We had Ellen Johnson time, we had our performance, we did what we had to do. But now, in fact, this government is new. So what she have inherited is something that's just coming from the old government, but government is continuity. So not necessarily like the civil society group, the human rights group want to come high on this government. No. But the essence of reporting, it helps to put your country into a good perspective. If you report that you are improving the situation of governance, human rights, protection of surveillance, it put your country in good perspective. It gives you an opportunity for people to work with you. But if you fail to report, people will always be uncertain, people will not be clear about you, and they will not take your business to be serious. And sometimes you can even be restricted from participating in certain things. And even donor funding, certain people will not give you funding because you have not done due diligence when it comes to the human rights situation. So our report that was launched today basically was in no way haunting any government, but it's a report that had to air out, put out those things that government have not taken measures to accomplish, to implement, to fulfill. So that's a report that we presented to the United Nations in March 2018. So the report was presented to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. I, in fact, did that presentation. And the Human Rights Council has accepted our report. They publish it on their website right now. It's on the UN website. And it's now being used as a working tools. That in July, there will be second review on the same report. And we expect the government of Liberia to be in Geneva. Their delegation should be there so that they can receive the recommendation from the UN when it comes to implementing the identical Charlotte report. So
you did that report in March.
Yeah.
You launched it in Liberia today.
Yeah.
What are some of the grave human rights violations that are in that report that we can single out to talk about?
Well, basically, I will give you guys a copy of the report, electronic, and you take your own set time to read the report. No, I will put it that way.
For the viewers,
but for the viewer, we have highlighted. In fact, in my oral statement to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, there are 4 cardinal issues that we presented to them. One has to do with a country coming from conflict must do everything to address the conflict issues. That is, Liberia saw heinous crimes that were committed, and there were people who were tied to the commission of those crimes, and they still live within our country context. They still find themselves, most of them are super rich, and they have become powerful, and they see themselves as, maybe in a different perspective. But from a human rights background, I would say this openly, that until we address the conflict issue, Liberia cannot be fully guaranteed for the kind of peace we talk about.
What do we do with people like that? Do we throw them away?
You don't throw them away. What happens is that they are writing on the book that after conflict, the conflict issues must be addressed. Transitional justice will tell you that there should be investigation to establish those who are tied to those crimes. And if it is established, there should be a legal mechanism put into place to try those people. Because not necessarily that people should go scot-free or bargain be bargain helps the society. So where do we come from when we want to set example? We want to fight for deterrence. We don't want people to go back to the kind of awkward path.
But Adama, you know that, and I know that Liberia is a closely knit society. So almost everybody related to everybody.
But that's not an excuse. That excuse, I would say, is very poor. Because the thing is, if we talk about closely, yeah, but those are breeding ground to find a way to just trash the delicate campaign we are putting forward. But what we are seeing, that we are no different from Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone had 50,000 deaths during her entire conflict. Liberia had 250,000 deaths. Sierra Leone took action that today there is not much more, too much disenchantment. There is a kind of relative
huge population.
No, but we're saying that look at the gravity of people that die. Look at the gravity of people. You got 250,000. You got 250. Yeah. Sierra Leone have 50,000. Look at the gravity between them. Then you don't want to give account. You don't want to set an example for the life of over 200,000 people. Then what you want to tell us today? What can we use as a guarantee? You understand? Because today, if you cannot deal with a small crime today, then what will happen tomorrow?
So definitely, it's a very good question. If you cannot deal with a small crime today, what happens if a bigger one is being committed? But we'll take a very quick break, and we'll come back. We'll tell you what happens when a bigger crime is committed. Stay tuned.
This is in Jamaica, baby. The Indians refuse to come to Liberia.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Meet the Expert. And our expert in studio today is Mr. Adama Dempster, the Secretary General of the Civil Society Human Rights Platform. And before we went for the break, we're discussing letting go, let bargain be bargain, and how a small society like Liberia can allow themselves to be killed and just say let bargain be bargain. What happened next? So we're discussing that, and now we are back to continue that discussion.
Very well.
We're talking about the bigger conflict.
Yeah, but I will come back to you to tell you that even the bargain be bargain is for smaller crimes. It's not for
That's
war
for
crimes.
massacre.
It's not for crimes against humanity. Those are international crimes. You don't commit a crime and go scot-free. That's not a space for bargain to be bargained. Those are on international treaty obligation. That when people commit war crimes, when people commit crimes against humanity, genocide, you do not do bargain be bargain. No. There's no space for that. Yeah. That you can say, oh, you can pardon the person, after a period of time. But I tell you for free that this is very tied to the lifeline of Liberia. That until we address past human rights abuses, past human rights violation, there will be more abuses and violations because there is nothing to serve as deterrence. So people get more desperate, people get more brutal, and they continue to commit because there is not any system here to be able to punish people. And you can't tell me, say, you run a government and there is not a rule of law. The rule of law only be one-sided, only to back the wrong, or back people who commit crime and shield them, give them kind of glory. Then of course, no, we won't sit down here and say you're running a fair system. So what we are saying is that we must do everything as a country and people to deal with the past human rights abuses. That's the only way you can guarantee Liberia for tomorrow. There are a lot of things that right now that is hampering Liberia. We got people who were victims from the Liberian conflict that still live with bullet wounds. They got scars, bodily pain. They got women who were sexually exploited during the Liberian conflict. What has happened to them? They got children who were recruited as child soldiers. They are grew and turned into Zogos. The street is so, occupied with a lot of guys who will be snatching your phone. How do you address their plight? Sometimes we get angry with them.
Not those children's fault.
And you understand, we get angry about where they came from. You recruited the guys from that age and turn them into adults now, or youth, and they don't have any skill. What do you think? They don't have gun anymore. They will have to use the other way to find ends meet. This is sometimes the outcome of you not taking action. So I think that at this time that the government will find a way of addressing these concerns. These are the concerns both in Liberia, the international groups are telling us. The UN ran a successful mission here. They ended that mission. And the echo in our ear is that if anything happens, do we expect the UN to come back here? There's a big question to every one of us because you did not complete, the entire job. The recommendations are there. You understand? So there's no way that we should find justification. And one of the good things here is to guarantee our peace, we must deal with the issues that are conflict related. And moreover, if the government comes strong and take the kind of action, the kind of stand, it gives them a more credibility and a kind of openness to interact with international partners and other people that will guarantee support for them. People. But until then, you only want to allot bigger salary to guys. You only want to make sure that they get best wages. But the very guys who we are talking about that are a threat to this nation, what do we do with them?
But Adama, let's forget about the government. Even us as people, we will go and we elect those very people. We run campaign for them. We elect them, and now they're in the position of easily take them off.
Now you agree, but the way in which our election go around this country is better driven. The people don't have nothing to eat. And somebody got money, the guy got money over there, he come. You see a whole impoverished society, community, and try to do, a so-called good. They call it humanitarian gesture.
Yeah, that means
we have a lot to do. So it also, with the Liberian people, should stand up for our cause. And then the government should be willing to listen. The few guys that will be taken out of this country or put somewhere for wrongdoing will have to save the other millions that are here. These are things that we are putting strictly. And if you fail to address the past, it will have influence on the now, and it will have influence on the future.
So you see, the government should be willing to listen. Are they not listening?
They should act. Well, until right now, the way in which the debate is going, I will tell you that we need to redirect the debate to making sure that these things that are human rights related are very key and tied to the future of this nation. So when they work on it, improve on those things, it will help Liberia to move what it is right now. These are important things. Another aspect we talk about is that Liberia have reintroduced the death penalty. Wow. You understand it? Liberia is the only country in the world that have reintroduced the death penalty in 2008. But after she signed the international protocol the second protocol on civil and political rights in 2005. 2008, she reintroduced the death penalty because why? There were prevalence of crime that has to do with armed robbery, hijacking, and terrorism. Yeah. So because of this, the armed robbery law was reintroduced. I mean, the death penalty was reintroduced. And between that period up to now, there were 20 persons placed on death sentence, on death row. But then later on, we'll have 7 persons now.
Wow.
7 persons stay.
But they did not,
They did not kill them, to say they executed them physically. But even by theory, symbolically, if you sentence somebody on the record, you already, now that you have taken their life away. But these are things that we should not even encourage as a civilized nation right now. Because there should be a space that you can send somebody for lifetime imprisonment. That's a whole lot. But then to have corporal punishment,
and to have that,
that
place,
and the only way you can do that, the only way you can do that is when you have not signed international human rights norms, international human rights instrument. But you can sign the instrument today, then tomorrow you come and then do something else in contravention, in the direct idea that you have already signed. So these are things that we talk about and recommended that we will do everything as a government to abolish the death penalty. It will help our country. You take it to be simple, but these are things that tie us to international relations. And if we fail to fulfill them, it undermines our international relation. It even restricts us to a certain extent of not receiving certain support as a country. And you know that we got almost 85% of our support come from international community. We only got 15% that we depend on that come from our own natural resource and revenue we generate. So how do we carry this country? You are heavily reliant on international support. But you sign the international instrument, but you do not want to walk into that preference.
But sometimes the crimes being committed can push the government to say, oh, this warrant death. So you just say life in prison, people will be like, okay, I'll be somewhere, at least I'll not be dead. When the person gets to know that if they commit this crime, they will be dead. Sometimes it's deterrent. What do you think?
But I don't want to go to the biblical side because I'm not from that background. I'm a Christian, but I would tell you that the best way ever is to always keep people on a certain sanction until they can go through their punishment. But to take the life of a next person, maybe what the Bible may say in your own interpretation. But under international human rights norms, these are things that we say no. But you can sanction certain punishment that they can go through their entire lifetime for crimes they commit. So it's not necessary that because you pull up,
they stay there for the next 100 years.
Yeah. But once the stamp is there, it's true. And you will find out that even in the civilized world, there are parole. People could stay for a certain period of time. Sometimes their attitude could change. You can pardon them. You understand it? And it becomes a healing. Maybe the person will go back to the community as you understand it? So these are things we are talking about. And another issue we did talk about is that the issue about FGM, female genital mutilation, and harmful traditional practices. We signed the CEDAW, the Convention on all forms of discrimination, elimination against women. If you sign that, then it's called international instrument. You sign the CRC, the rights of the child. You sign the Maputo Protocol. You understand it, that exclusively spell out protection for women and girls. You understand it? All of the international instruments you sign and ratify. Then what do you do?
So you get part of the domestic
then
violence.
you cannot equally protect the rights. Then of course acting is not accepted.
But if you already
Because
signed those
what is the
protocols,
benefit in any kind of harmful practices? What benefit people get when your skin, you have a cut, when a body part of yours is mutilated? Yeah, what benefit? I still ask the question. I respect women, I respect the culture, I respect tradition. But these are from a human rights background. How do we deal with that? Now, some people are saying that it should be based on consent. Some people are saying how to do with children, there should be no consent but adopt. But we are saying that under the international human rights instrument, like the Maputo Protocol, they said women should have exclusive protection from all forms of discrimination, harm. Whether that is not something that is going to be an injury to you, that have medical complication, that have psychological birth. even have complications leading to maritalhood. You understand it? Infection. These are things that you say you want to have a consent to go and do.
But who will consent to mutilate a part of their body?
No, but that's justification that is placed in the Domestic Violence Act. They left a condition there. But what we are saying is that in 2009, in 2010, the last UPR, Universal Periodic Review of the United Nations, recommended that Liberia do everything to legislate or criminalize harmful traditional practices or FGM. So since 2010 up to now, we have not done that until Ellen went and did the executive order on her last day in office, which lasts for only 1 year. After 1 year, the practice, and we noticed that during the whole FGM, female genital mutilation practice, it restricts school-going children. You understand? And it has a whole wide range of effects, underlying factors that must not be encouraged. So we told the United Nations Human Rights Committee that you need to speak back. It's in the report. I'll share it with you. So they're going to look at that between now and July. We're going to see a whole lot of recommendations that will come from the UN. We also documented media relations before, during, and after the election.
So let's talk about the media before.
Before, during, and after the election, there were a whole lot of crackdown on media personnel, media practitioners, media institutions. Those are human rights that has to do with freedom of the press. So those are things that we capture in the report, and you can read the report and see the extent to which we actually analyzed and recommended to the UN that they should also talk to the government of Liberia and even other stakeholders in their action measures towards media and journalists. It should be in the protection of their work, their profession, and their person as a practitioner.
Definitely, that should be a part of the everyday work that the government, carries out. But as we are winding down, coming down closely, is there anything we did not discuss and you would like?
Well, it's important that this debate got to continue. And
especially one that got to do with FGM.
No, anytime you can call us, we'll come. If I can come, we got other experts within the platform that will come and discuss. But it's a national issue. It's an international issue that has to do with protecting and preserving the lives of both women and girls from all harmful traditional practices. And moreover, we also want to inform this platform that we're going to be employing a more robust monitoring mechanism to look at the human rights context of Liberia. The new United Nations Human Rights Office that have been opened in Liberia is to be inaugurated maybe between now and next month. We have a project with them to monitor the entire country. We document the action of police brutality, police misconduct, other security apparatus, even the issue of corruption, going down to the issue of prison, overcrowding in prison. These are things that we're going to be looking at. We'll go more stronger. And lastly, we're going to be introducing business and human rights. Businesses operating in the country must be able to conduct their affairs within a human rights context. That's a new concept. So those are things we'll talk about maybe sometime. And we want to bring the business community to be upholding human rights, respect the labor rights of their employees, Definitely. And other things. Those are things we'll be talking about.
There's a lot of things we could talk about, a lot of wide range of issues that we could talk about, but the timing, we have a lot of time.
Right.
So we'll come back here another time. We will get another guest to talk about all the other things. But I like it when you talk about business, human rights, respect the person labor and everything that the person do in that sector of the business. Right. The program has been Meet the Expert, and my guest has been Mr. Adama Dempster, and we've been discussing human rights issues. We discussed the shadow report that was launched in Geneva and was also presented to Liberians in Liberia. And there were a lot of recommendations that came from that report. But what we single out is that let justice be done. Let the people that harm Liberia pay for the crime they committed against humanity.
Thank you.
And if they don't do that, Liberia will not be able to move forward. I've been your host, Seattle Scott Johnson, and I'm bearing you, Papa. Join me next Thursday for another brand new edition with another brand new guest, and we'll be discussing another thought-provoking topic. Thank you for viewing, and Papa.